Welcome back to the Realty Rundown from the Nic Wyse team. I'm Nic Wyse, and here with me, as always, is Nathan Schwartz.
That's right.
Today, we are diving into a topic that every home buyer needs to understand: written buyer agreements. Before we do that, I want to take just a real quick pause and talk about some of the new listings that we've got coming onto the market and give a quick shout out. This last week, we closed a property that was kind of near and dear to me. Kent and Betty Berkey's property on County Road 8 in Middlebury. I have been in this house many times. They've lived there for 47 years. I'm almost 47 years old. I grew up in the church with them, and so it was just a really special opportunity to help them transition to this next chapter in their life. So I wanted to give a shout out to that. Wanted to mention a couple of new listings that we had as well. So we've got some stuff coming up in Middlebury. If you're looking for a smaller, kind of a starting up or a winding down home, we've got a 3-bed and 3-bath. Although it is not a massive place, it does have those nice amenities. If you're looking for something like that, we've got that coming up. We also just listed a property in Elkhart. It is a new construction, so it's actually not even under construction yet, but it's going to be over on Sandpiper, which is just east of Simonton Lake in Elkhart, and it's got a big 2.2 acre lot. Part of that is a huge pond that it's located on. It's a shared pond, but it's a really, really nice neighborhood over there, and it's a custom build. So if that's something you're interested in, that home builder, Lehman Construction, is ready to build a custom home just for you. So that would be something I would encourage you to reach out if that's something you're thinking about. We do have a cabinetry shop that we just listed in Elkhart. That is Brian Snyder's Snyder Cabinetry. It is basically a turnkey operation. If you know somebody who's interested in woodworking, would like to have their own business, that one's ready to go. That is on Wood Street in Elkhart. So I guess woodworking on Wood Street. How did I not figure that out before? I got to figure out some marketing gimmick for that. But that's a really neat opportunity for just $185,000. You can basically be running your own business and have your own real estate that you own, commercial real estate that goes with that too. That's a B1 zoning, so there are other businesses that could operate out of there as well. There's more to discuss, but I don't want to take up too much time. Thank you, everybody that has trusted us this year so far. We're off to a tremendous start as a team. Nate, I was just looking at the numbers. I think you might be the top buyer's agent out there right now, and I'm floating somewhere around like the top 7 or 8 as far as just purely listing agents. So we're kind of up there competing with folks that do both, and we're still kind of in that top mark. So I cannot thank people enough for trusting us with your business.
Absolutely.
So again, today we are going to be diving into written buyer agreements. And Nate, of course, as a buyer agent on our team, this is something you deal with all the time.
Yep.
And there's been some changes here. Some of the folks that haven't bought a home in the last 7 or 8 months would not have had to deal with this. So we're going to talk about what these buyer agents mean. Are they required? And most importantly, how do they benefit you as a buyer? So Nate, if you're ready, let's start breaking this down.
Yeah. And like you were saying, there's a lot of confusion around it. So I think this will help clear things up, just because there's been a lot of changes over the last year in real estate, and this is one of the big ones. So I think it's going to clear up a lot of that confusion for people.
Yeah. Let's start right with the basics. What exactly is a written buyer's agency agreement?
Yeah. So a written buyer agent agreement is a contract between a home buyer and the real estate agent. It outlines the responsibilities of both parties, the agent's commission, and the terms of the working relationship. Essentially, it formalizes the partnership between the buyer and their agent.
Yeah. It deals with a lot of different things, right? So we've got the duration of the agreement is going to be included in there. It's not just kind of a thing you sign and it lasts in perpetuity. In fact, most of the time, when we get somebody who's, a fresh lead, as we would call them, somebody who haven't met before, we're not going to ask them to commit to us for 6 months. They may not like us. We might not like you.
Yeah.
So we might not want a 6-month agreement. So typically we're doing those for whatever amount of time covers us for that first showing. If it's, hey, we're going to look at this house tomorrow, let's get this signed. It ends tomorrow after that showing. We can do that. And then once we kind of, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, once we've got that, that comfort level, then we are going to look for a commitment, because it's a commitment from us and it's a commitment from you as a buyers. And then it's also going to stipulate what geographic area applies. So I know agents out there who have been saying like, well, this applies to any home you buy in the state of Indiana. Well, I don't think that's appropriate. We don't do that. And that's advice of Todd Stock at Remax Results, our managing broker and owner. He really broke this down well for us to understand, if you're going with too big of an area, yeah, that's great. Make sure you're covered. But at the same time, I'm not an expert down in Bloomington.
Right.
Somebody changes course. And they're like, hey, I got a job in Bloomington. I'm moving down there. I'm like, well, I'll be showing you those houses.
Right.
Doesn't work that way. So, we have a specific geographic area that we're asking for that to cover. The services that the agent provides, that's something I'm going to let Nate talk a little bit more about. But what we're going to do for you as you're signing this agreement with us, what do you get out of it? And then of course how the agent is compensated. This has been one of the biggest changes that has taken place in the real estate industry over the last year, really, stemming from a lawsuit that was settled through the National Association of Realtors, and it deals specifically with how agents are compensated and how that is communicated to both the buyer and the seller.
Yeah, good way to put it. Back to the whole the services that the agent provides. I mean, it's really, not only are you committing to us when you sign it, but we're also committing to you. To give you the best service possible. If your criteria is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house on, you want up to half an acre, in Elkhart County or LaGrange County, my job is to be working on that every single day, seeing if we can find something within that criteria. And then, of course, it's, if we're under an agency relationship at that point in time, I owe you my fiduciary duty, which is, trust and loyalty, and making sure I'm taking care of you and putting your best interest above all else.
That's right. Yep. That's really well said, Nate. That's exactly what it is. It allows us basically to go that extra yard, and really make sure that we're taking care of the clients to the best of our abilities. And like you said, that fiduciary responsibility to always act in their best interest, that's key. And that starts once that agreement is signed. Up until then, sure, you can call anybody. You can call the yard sign. You can call somebody who's, paid for leads through certain online websites that we will not mention their names.
That's right.
For a variety of reasons. But, if you want to do that, you can. But again, you're calling somebody who doesn't have a relationship with you, doesn't really have any obligation to do their best for you. They're just going to go show you a house and then poof, they're gone. So hiring somebody and having somebody right with you the whole way through, highly, highly, highly recommended. So,
yeah. And if I could mention, one thing we do as well for people who want to maybe take us on as their realtors or us hiring as clients, we're happy to do a buyer consultation with you where, it takes maybe an hour, depends on how chatty we get. But where we just take you through, again, I take you through in detail, line by line of what this contract means. And then, really outlining, hey, what are your goals for buying a home? What's your criteria? And then also, if you haven't spoken with a lender yet, we can also get you in touch with one of our preferred lenders as well. So that is something we offer. We're not, it's fine if we want to go look at a house. If that's the first time we meet, that's fine. But it's also nice to establish that relationship with you and your agent up front and just get to actually meet each other face to face and have a conversation about what your goals are.
Yeah. Yeah. And Nate, that's one of the things that you're just amazing at. I know a lot of other agents and agencies don't do that at all. Don't even offer it. So, the fact that you're willing to take that time to sit down with somebody and explain to them the process, I think that's a rare commodity. And again, it just shows, that we're here for your best interest. We're going to take that time. You're not getting paid to do that. There's no extra bonus in you for that. So,
and that's really, one thing I forgot to mention is it's free of charge. I don't charge anything to meet with you for an hour. So,
yep. Yeah, get a lot of information in that hour too. Worth your time. If you have the time to sit down with Nate for an hour, you're going to learn a lot. So we mentioned kind of, you can call whoever, you can go see a home with any licensed real estate agent, of course. But what do you have to do before you go see that home? Do you have to sign one of these things?
Absolutely. As agents, if we don't have you sign it, we're violating license law and we could lose our license for doing it. So, we've had people push back on it like, hey, I'm not signing this until I see the house. And it's like, well, you can't see this house until we sign it. And I'm not going to show it to you if you're not going to sign it because I'm not going to lose my license over this. So it does have to be signed. Yep.
It's a tough conversation that we've had to have, and we've had to let people walk, and they said, well, we'll call somebody else. We'll look at it with them. Okay. Just knowing that if they do that and you don't sign a buyer agency representation agreement with them, you're violating state law. That went into effect in July of 2024, signed by Governor Holcomb at the time. We actually were one of the first states, maybe the first state. I don't know for sure, but we were definitely one of the first. We enacted that into law even before it was passed by the National Association. That was law in Indiana, and it continues to be law to this day. So you do have to have a written buyer agency agreement signed before you walk in that door to tour that house. And if any agent's telling you different, you might want to question other things they're doing because that is illegal.
Yeah.
And honestly, it benefits both you and the agent. It does cover the agent as well, but it makes sure everybody's on the same page about how the
Yep.
process works and what services the agent is providing for you.
Yeah,
So,
agreed. Exactly right. A lot of buyers don't realize that real estate agents don't get paid until the transaction closes. So a buyer agent agreement ensures that both parties are committed to working together as well. So
yeah, yeah. It'd be cool if we were paid by how many lights did I turn on today? I get $5 a light kind of a thing, but it doesn't work that way.
nope.
There's plenty of times where we'll work with somebody for a very long period of time. We don't get paid a dime until that
Yep.
transaction is closed. So it's a lot of risk. It's a lot of obviously it's a great career and it's rewarding,
Right.
but it is a lot of risk that we put forward up front. Well, this buyer agency agreement protects again both sides to make sure that there's a mutual understanding.
Absolutely.
And again, why would a buyer want to sign with these agreements? What's in it for them, I guess?
Yeah, so great question. So the key benefits to buyers is exclusive representation. So, I mean, when you're signing this with us, we're your exclusive realtor, and I mean, I'd say you're our exclusive client, but we're also working with many other clients as well. But we're your exclusive realtor to where if you need something, if it's 8 o'clock at night and you find this house you want to look at, I mean, we're there to help. I mean, Nick and I say this a lot, but when our eyes are open, we're open for business. So that's one of the benefits. Clear expectations as well. So you'll understand exactly what services the agent will provide, but then also negotiation power as well. So a dedicated agent will negotiate on your behalf to get the best deal. And also one last part too is market expertise. So you'll get a professional's insights on pricing, local trends, and available homes. So there's a lot of benefits to it rather than just, I mean, it's definitely, your prerogative of what you want to do, but we've seen people who just, they'll tour, do a 1-day contract with an agent, and then the next day they do another one with another agent. And that's fine, but eventually I think it's going to be to your benefit if you can actually sit down with someone or get to know someone, get to know an agent very well and make sure they're a good fit for you and just work with them until you find a home. It's going to benefit you.
Most important thing is you find somebody you know and trust and feel comfortable with.
Yep.
Obviously, we highly recommend that you work with us. One of the reasons being that we list a tremendous amount of homes. We're one of the premier listing agents in northern Indiana, north central Indiana, especially Elkhart County. And so we're constantly getting leads on new listings that are coming up. If you've already got a written buyer agency agreement with us, we can share that information with you. We can make sure, hey, this home is hitting the market, Friday at 9 a.m. We're going to get you in there at 9:01 to look at the home. We've got that opportunity in that situation, so you're going to get that market expertise and you're going to get more of our time and more of our resources by signing that buyer agency agreement. So
yeah,
I think that's a big part of it. There's some myths, that have already kind of started with the buyer agency agreement. So I wanted to address these as well. Nate, what are some of the common misconceptions that you're seeing out there?
Yeah, so one of the big ones is that signing an agreement locks them into working with one agent forever. Like there's no end date. That's not true. These agreements have an expiration date, and most can be terminated if either party feels it's not working out. Actually, for me personally, if you sign on with us, I make a note in further conditions that you retain the right to rescind the contract at any point in time. So if things don't work out between us, or if you just decide you're not going to buy a home after all, doesn't offend us. One thing I tell people is if we just end up not getting along, I'm certainly not going to force you to work with us because that's going to make an awkward experience for both you and I. So,
yeah, I think that's a really good point right there, and that's one of the other extras that that Nathan does is give you an out if it ends up being not a good match. Maybe you thought at first it was going to be a great thing, and then I don't think it's happened yet. But maybe if there's somebody that says this guy Nathan, he's no good, he's not going to work out for us, they can terminate that agreement. That's something that we add in. That's kind of an extra personal touch that we do, just so you don't have to have that concern like, oh my goodness, I signed a 6-month agreement. Now I'm stuck with this person. Not with us. You're not. We'll let you out of that agreement. If you're not comfortable working with us, we certainly don't want to tie you down and force you to do so. That's not going to be a good process for anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, another myth that I've seen is just, we kind of talked about it, that it benefits only the agent. Again, like, oh, you're locked in, you're stuck with us. But as we mentioned time and again here, it does benefit the buyer tremendously. You're going to get a lot more resource. You're going to get a lot more expertise that comes along with having us in-house already.
Yeah, exactly. There is also a concern about commission payments. Some buyers worry that they'll pay out of pocket. In many cases, the seller still covers the agent's commission. It just depends on how the contract is structured. But yes, I mean, we can ask the sellers, if you want, we can ask the sellers to pay that commission for you.
Yeah, and that's so the way the written buyer agency agreement is basically written. It says, hey, I agree to my realtor having the compensation of X amount, and of course it's always negotiable, but my realtor will be compensated in X amount, and my realtor will do their best job to negotiate that commission be paid by the seller. And that is generally what we see happen. It's pretty rare actually that the buyer is responsible for that commission. Obviously, that's not our goal. If you're out there, you've already got your mortgage closing costs, typically, unless you're a cash buyer, the down payment, all these other things that are happening for you, inspections, you're paying for a lot of things. We're not expecting you to pay for our commissions. That's how the contract has to be drawn up. But then we are going to go on your behalf and negotiate that commission to be paid by the seller. That is always our goal. And I think that I can't think of one example recently, literally since this went into effect, where we've had to say, hey, Mr. Buyer, you need to pay our commissions. If that happens, then I would, I think we're on an understanding that we maybe haven't negotiated as strongly as we could. And we're going to make sure that doesn't happen for you. So it's just one of those things. It has to be on that agreement. If it's not on the agreement, we actually cannot get compensated. That's another part of that state law. If it doesn't say, hey, you'll be compensated up until this amount, we can't do it. We can also amend that. So it is not hard and fast. If we negotiate with the seller, they say, we're willing to pay X amount, we can amend that agreement and say, yep, okay, Mr. Buyer, here our written agreement has changed. We're only going to be compensated this amount. So again, our goal is to collect that from the sellers, not from the buyers. The buyers got enough to worry about in that situation. So, Nate, that's a lot of what I wanted to cover. I mean, are you, so typically, obviously you're the one writing up most of these agreements because you're representing our buyers. Are you typically seeing a certain time frame that you and the buyer feel more comfortable with?
So I would say, you mean as far as like the duration of the contract?
Yep.
Yeah. So I've seen, I'd say more often than not, people usually sign on for about 6 months or so. I would say it's more so about their comfort level with me. When we do buyer consultations, pretty much by the end, we're usually all pretty comfortable with each other. So I'd say usually 6 months. I've had it on a month-by-month basis, but I'd say anywhere from 3 to 6 months is usually what we see people sign on for. We have a couple where they sign on for a year, and if they've been looking for a while and just maybe the property they've been looking for is more unique and doesn't come to market often, they usually sign on for. I've seen them sign on for a year, and then we just renew it when the next year comes around. But I'd say usually anywhere from 3 to 6 months.
Yep, I'd say that probably sounds like a good mix. That's a good match right there. So yeah, again, the most important things you're going to want to understand when you're signing this thing, the length of the agreement that we just talked about, understanding your agent's responsibilities towards you as your fiduciary, reviewing that commission structure, make sure you understand how that works. And I think it's a good idea to ask, if you're not working with us, we're going to include that exit clause. If you decide to work with somebody else, maybe ask that they put that in there for you too. Give yourself an opportunity if it's not working out. And then just overall, just ask questions, like Nathan does, a good agent is going to take their time to give you a consultation. I think that's so valuable and so important. So you have that opportunity to ask questions right up front.
Yep, absolutely. What kind of final thoughts here? Well, number one, Nick, this has been a great discussion, but what's your final advice for buyers when it comes to written agreements?
Yeah, just remember that. Just remember that this is something that benefits both of you. And if you haven't done it before, maybe you bought a home even 3 years ago and you're now getting ready to turn around and sell that, downsize, upsize, whatever it may be. You didn't have to sign this back then. Just be aware that you do now. Again, it is state law. So don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions about it. That's what we're here for. Our understanding is complete. So we can explain this to you in detail when you're sitting down at that buyer agency consultation, or just give us a phone call if you have questions about it. Hit us online. We're on Facebook now. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We'll probably be on CNN pretty soon.
That's
probably.
right.
Maybe if you're listening out there, Wolf Blitzer. Is he alive still? Nate's like, who's Wolf Blitzer? I don't even know if he's alive. Oh my God.
I love it.
All right. Well, guys, again, if you're working with a great agent, they're going to be happy to walk you through the details. That's what you should remember.
Absolutely. And if you're thinking about buying a home and want an agent who's dedicated to your success, reach out to the Nic Wyse team. We'd be happy to help you guys out.
That's right, guys. Well, that's it for this episode. Appreciate you tuning in to the Realty Rundown from the Nic Wyse team. And remember, Nick knows, get wise replies. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.